Hello and welcome back to the lesson. The subject is Advanced Auditing and Assurance. Today we are continuing with the topic Audit Evaluation and Reviews. In our today's lesson, we are going to study the drafting. We are going to consider factors or to look at the key points that should be considered when drafting the management representation letter. By the end of the lesson, we should be able to identify some of the key points to consider when drafting a management representation letter. And candidates, a management representation letter is a formal letter that is prepared by management of the audited firm that is addressed to the auditors. All right? It is a formal letter prepared by the management of an audited firm, or what we call an auditee, to the auditors. And the purpose of this letter is to confirm and acknowledge the management's responsibilities and representations made during the audit engagement. Right? That's the purpose. Is to do what? To acknowledge and to confirm the management's responsibilities and the representations made during the audit engagement. And some of the key points to consider when drafting a management representation letter is to have what we call an introduction. Introduction. The management should begin the letter with a formal salutation and address to the audit firm or a specific auditor responsible for the engagement. Number 2, date and reference. Date and reference. The management should include the date of the letter and a reference to a specific audit engagement. A specific audit engagement, such as the audit period or the engagement number. Do you understand? Then we have responsibilities. Responsibilities of the management. Responsibilities of the management. The management should clearly state the responsibilities that they have in relation to the financial statements, including the responsibility for preparation, presentation, and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. Responsibilities of management. Another point to consider is assertion and representations. Assertions and representations. Assertions and representations. The management is required to summarize the assertions and representations made throughout the audit process. Within this letter, there has to be a summary of all the assertions and representations made during that engagement, audit engagement, or the audit process. And these assertions may include matters related to completeness, accuracy, valuation of financial statement items, the existence of assets and liabilities, and also the compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Number 5, disclosure of significant matters. Disclosure of significant matters. Disclosure of any significant matters that were discussed or identified during the audit must also be part of the representation letter. Any matters that the management discussed with the auditor or matters that were identified during the audit that the management is aware of it must be included in the audit, in the management representation letter. And these matters may include matters related to accounting policies, estimates, related party transactions, contingencies, as well as the going concern assessments. Number 6 is completeness of information. Completeness of information is also a key point to consider when drafting the management representation letter. The management should confirm that it has provided the auditors with all the relevant and necessary information. The relevant information, the relevant documentation required for the audit. That has to be part of the management representation letter. Completeness of information. Confirm that management has provided the auditors with all relevant and necessary information and documentation required for the audit. 7, accuracy of information. Accuracy of information. There has to be representation that all information provided to the auditors is accurate, complete, and not misleading. Accurate, complete, and not misleading. Accurate, complete, and not misleading. 8, cooperation with the auditors. Cooperation with the auditors. Within this letter, the management should acknowledge the cooperation and assistance provided by themselves to the auditors throughout the audit process, including access to records, access to personnel, and also access to facilities. It has to be clearly stated that the management cooperated and assisted the auditor in accessing records, accessing personnel, accessing facilities throughout the audit process. There should also be mention of any unresolved issues. There ought to be disclosure of any significant unresolved issues or disagreements with the auditors, and also provide an explanation of the management's position on such issues or matters. When writing this letter to the auditor, the management should ensure that if there were any unresolved issues with the auditor during the audit process, such issues or matters must be documented, and the position of the management in relation to the unresolved issues must also be stated within the management representation letter. 10, signature and contact details. Signature and contact details. The letter should be signed by the appropriate individual within management, such as the CEO or the CFO or any authorized representative. And it has to include the name, the title, the contact details for further communication. And candidates, in closing, it's important to note that the content and specific wording of the management representation letter may vary depending on the jurisdiction and the requirements of the audit engagement. And this letter should accurately reflect the representations made by management and be reviewed and approved by the appropriate individuals within the organization before the letter is issued to the auditors. So these are some of the key points that the management should consider when drafting the management representation letter. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, date and reference. Number 3, responsibilities of management. Number 4, assertions and representations. Number 5, disclosure of significant matters. Number 6, completeness of information. Number 7, accuracy of information. Number 8 is cooperation with the auditors. Number 9, unresolved issues. And lastly, signature and contact details. So thank you for attending our today's lesson. I hope to meet you in the next session where we continue with the topic audit, evaluation, and reviews.